Come on, baby. Pee. Come on.
have all of my windows and blinds thrown open because we are expecting a hurricane. I'm loving the sound of the breeze and the rain and all that kind of stuff, and it's like been the first cool day in a while. That being said, I'm very stressed. We have some work things going on this weekend that involves a lot of people. It starts tomorrow, and I want to do some calming activities for the remainder of the day to kind of get myself prepared. So while I'm waiting for my cheesy noodles and chicken nuggets to cool off, this is like my ultimate comfort meal, should talk about my plans for the rest of the day. So it's about 2 o'clock. I've showered, I have my lunch cooked, and so I want to watch some TV, read a cozy fantasy romance, and do some embroidery. So this is a Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping. I have heard that this is just so delightful and comforting, and I loved this author's Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, so I'm excited to give this a shot. And I also want to do some cozy gaming. I recently discovered that Stardew Valley is on Apple Arcade. I have been using Apple Arcade to play Hello Kitty Adventure Island, but also I downloaded Stardew Valley. So I'm gonna watch some The Unexplained on Hulu. The Unexplained with William Shatner. I love this show. It's a little 30-minute per episode show narrated by William Shatner, and it's like little mysteries of the world. It's about the scientist's take and the supernatural take on these different topics. So the previous episode that I just watched was the pyramids and some other like mysterious structure. It's a great thing to have on and listen to in the background, and I'm going to listen to that once I'm done eating. And we're gonna play some probably Stardew Valley, and then I'm gonna do my embroidery. But while I eat, I'm going to listen to Emily D. Baker's video on Corey Richardson's charges. This video I have watched many times. It came out a little over a month ago, but there's something about listening to Emily D. Baker read out court documents that is just so relaxing for my brain. So I'm going to eat my lunch, and then we will get into some Stardew Valley, and hopefully the rain picks up soon and I can just enjoy a relaxing time.
I've changed to green. I need to redo my Audacity, so I am not completely green, but we're here for it. Why not? Okay. Don't have the vote.
The island is real. That is what we're trying to find out.
We sat there in awe of what we were looking at. It came right over in front of the car. We looked up and I could make out the shape of a winged man.
Most people generally have heard of Bigfoot, the Yeti, the Loch Ness Monster. But what they aren't aware is that there is a whole world of really unusual creatures out there.
Predation pattern really is.
If they be a huge monster, be the result of unnatural causes. Nature is an incredible world that is natural.
It's a couple of hours later, and I got 30 pages into A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping. It was really just like a couple of chapters. I'm liking it so far. We basically just have the setup. Sarah is a witch who is exiled from the Witches Guild for resurrecting her dead great aunt. And now at the beginning of chapter 3, we skip forward 15 years and she's running the keep, the inn, whatever. I'm probably going to set this down for now. I would like to bake a little bit. I don't know if we have anything. I was feeling some brownies, but I don't know if we have any brownie mix or anything to make it. But then I'm going to do my embroidery and watch some Gilded Age. This kind of made me want to start my rewatch of Sabrina, the dark version of it, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. But I am currently watching Gilded Age on HBO Max, which is a historical show set during the 1820s, and I'm enjoying it so far, and I think it would be a good show to watch while I embroider. I am currently embroidering this. It is from the Rose Bargain. I am a decent bit into it, and by a decent bit I just mean like I've gotten one leaf done. But I'm taking it very slow. I'm not, you know, upset about it. So I'm gonna embroider this while I watch some Gilded Age, and I might switch to something else, depending on if the Gilded Age is like what I'm in the mood for. So I think I'm gonna make myself a coffee though if I don't have any brownies, or possibly a hot chocolate. We'll see. But I'm gonna go check the kitchen and see what I have. We didn't have anything sweet, so I settled on a hot chocolate, and I was going to watch Gilded Age while I did my embroidery, but one of my favorite creators is doing scary videos, so we're gonna watch this. Wanted to very briefly share a resource that I created for myself working with my therapist that I have found very helpful. And if you also find this helpful, definitely let me know down below if you would like a accessible option for you to download for yourself. But I created for myself a little choose your own adventure guide to self-compassion. So if this is one of your first videos of mine, I am autistic, ADHD, and I have a plethora of mental health issues. I'm on medication, therapy every week, multiple therapists, the whole 9 yards. But as I'm feeling more resourced, and as I am working with my therapists to get through some of the struggles that I'm having, I wanted something that I could turn to that flexed my creativity around the topic, and also was something I could look back on in those quiet moments alone when I'm struggling a little bit and I don't have access to a therapist or something to, you know, someone to talk to immediately. Those choose your own adventure novels that we used to have when we were kids were really good and really fun and really helpful, so that's kind of the vibe that I went with. The place that I created this in is Canva. And if you're interested in your own version, I can do it in Canva, but I could also do it in other ways. Just let me know down in the comments if it's something that you would be interested in, and I'll make it downloadable in some way. Of course, we have the index for the what journey are you on, start your adventure sort of thing. And these are the 4 major feelings or major things that I would turn to this guide for. So step 1 is identifying your feelings, and then you would, once you've identified them and or you know what they are, you would move on. I have overwhelm, anxiety, depression, and burnout, and then some quick tips to use if you don't have tons of time. So we'll start with identifying your feelings. These are all going to be very personal based on things that help me, identifiers that I would use, and of course it's going to be fully up to you how you use it. So easy tips for naming what you're feeling. Consult the feelings wheel or needs list, which is something that I use in therapy a lot. Hi, Oswald. I use the feelings wheel a lot, especially when I first started therapy, to kind of understand the words behind what I was feeling. As an autistic person, that can be kind of a struggle sometimes. So I found the feelings wheel and the needs list to be very helpful. Option B is if you have a little bit more time on your hands, and that's to do a prompted journal entry. This is, journaling has been something that I have done on and off. I usually just do daily journals, but sometimes if I'm struggling emotionally, I will Google, I'll just get on my little Google and I'll Google some prompts that I think will bring out the level of maybe emotion that I'm looking for. And then C is, in event of racing thoughts, do a short breathing exercise. This can obviously be done through a YouTube video. There's breathing exercises like apps and things like that. I use the Insight Timer. I also use the Finch habit tracker that has breathing exercises on the inside, or on it, in it. And I've also learned quite a bit from my therapist. So those are some easy tips for identifying what you're feeling, and then obviously once you've identified that, you move on to the next portion. So let's say that I have identified that I am feeling overwhelmed and anxious, which I am today. So I kind of wanted to identify what this feels like in my body. What is the easily accessible feeling that I get when I'm like, oh, that's anxiety? And to me, anxiety feels like I'm an opened wound and my skin is buzzing. And I worked with my therapist to work through some short-term options and some long-term options. The first thing before we even get into our options is sitting with the body sensation, not just identifying it. I'm an intellectualizer. Once I have identified the feelings, I want the feeling to go away, but that never is actually how it works. So I have been training myself to sit with the uncomfortability of that feeling. So then once you've kind of sat with your feelings, you have a couple of options. Do you have some time on your hands, or do you need to get things done really quickly? And are you in a safe space? If you're not in a safe space, or you're like busy or something, here are some short-term options that I worked with my therapist to identify. If able, self-soothing exercises. So touch and sensory seeking, a 1-minute breathing exercises, STEM activities like pressing my feet into the floor, bilateral tapping with breath, which is like crossing your body like this, so on your legs or on your collarbones or something, and you tap like this to the breath that you have. 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you smell, and 1 you can taste. I don't really like that exercise, but that is an option. It is helpful, but it's just not part of my repertoire, if you will. It's not the first thing that I lean towards. Option 2, this is more long-term. So first is validation and acknowledging your suffering, allowing the feelings, offering loving kindness, mindful activities, so being present with each activity that you're doing. STEM activities like grounding exercises, squats, laying on your back and pressing your feet into the wall, pressing your back into the wall, touching cold water, using a weighted blanket, and being very mindful of all of those activities. So let's say I have identified that I am feeling depressed. I do have a depressive disorder, so that this is a quite common thing for me, and I'm often able to track when it's going to hit, thankfully, as I've gotten better working with my body. But say that I have identified my depression and I want to figure out what I can do. The biggest thing for me when I first was diagnosed with PMDD and discovered that I have this very cyclical depression episode thing going on was I wanted to get rid of it. I had this overwhelming urge to like curl up in a ball in my bed with no nothing like stimulating going on, just like mindlessly scrolling or watching some Twitch, doing absolutely nothing. And I hated that feeling. And when I was working on this guide with my therapist, originally I was like, I want this section to give me the same feeling as being in the bed, right? Like that is my ultimate comfort space. And the first thing that she said to me was, why can't being in the bed be an option? And I had to like come back into myself and realize that that is a viable option. I have associated being in my bed with so many bad things for some reason, and that is such a comfort spot for me that I think denying myself that, especially in a moment of vulnerability, is just really unfair to me. So instead we kind of made it about things that also give me the same feeling, or things that could heighten the being in the bed experience, you know what I mean? So for me, my first option is listen to Kingdom Hearts playlist. Kingdom Hearts is my favorite video game of all time. I have a tattoo of it on the back of my neck, and the soundtrack for it is impeccable. It immediately creates this sense of calmness, of safety, of warmth inside me, as does classical music, particularly like piano and violin instrumentals. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. And then seeking out some other musical options that could help me along the way. The next is put a blanket in the dryer or use a heating pad. This is such a simple thing to do for yourself, but wrapping yourself in that blanket really, really tight, it's warm, and it kind of gives you that sense of safety. And one of my sensory things, like one of the things that sensorily I love, is to be hugged really tight. I love the squeezing, you know, feeling. So using a weighted blanket, which is the third option, or being in a warm blanket, is just lovely. And there is another option of doubling up your weighted blanket. So my weighted blanket is king size or queen size, so I can double it up and put it on my chest and like double the weight on my chest, and it feels like that squeeze. So next up is burnout, specifically autistic burnout. This is not a new idea. Burnout in general is something that everyone can experience, but autistic people are particularly prone to burnout for various reasons that I don't need to soliloquy about. But some of the things that I struggle with burnout is, why is this happening? What does this feel like? And how do I tell the difference between burnout and depression? So the question is, what to do when your spoons are mysteriously missing. If you're not familiar with spoon theory, I would highly recommend looking into it. As a neurodivergent person, it can be very helpful for you. Please ignore that line. I don't know why that's there. It messed up in my printing, I think. But the first one is validate the burnout. Here are some signs: lack of motivation / creativity, flat or numb mood, nonverbal inclinations, loss of interest in special interests, overwhelmed or feeling like an open wound, and exhaustion with everything. Next is drop the mask. This is my favorite saying about unmasking, or just overworking yourself in general. It's, you're fried crispy, stop pretending you're a golden brown. I love that idea. You can't trust that voice in your head telling you to get over it, so why care? So why are you trusting it with your well-being? Do these things: schedule breaks, stemming, see anxiety checklist for some STEM options, grounding exercises, seek solitude, find new hobbies and creative projects, create reminders, and a support system. And then a couple of reminders that I like to use in my moments where I need to ground myself again is, I am worthy of love and acceptance. I am a unique and valuable member of society. I am worthy of self-care and self-compassion. I am not alone in my struggles. And then lastly, we have some quick tip options. If you are short on time or you don't really want to dive too deep into your feelings, here are some options of things you can do. So we know you're okay, but maybe try these still. You want to pretend that nothing's going on, but maybe try these just in case. They might help, you know, even if there's nothing wrong, try them still. First is take deep breaths, listen to music, journal your thoughts, and hug a cat. I don't know if you can see him right here. You are here, you are alive, you are okay. that is my little guide that I really enjoyed making. I found so much creativity in making this. It reminded me of all of the resources that I do have available to me, and it also brought to mind some things to look forward to in the future when I might need these resources that I might not have caught the first time. So again, if you would be interested in a downloadable version of this, I can certainly figure out a way to do that. Just let me know down in the comments. If you do end up wanting it, or you're inspired to make something similar for yourself, I really hope that it does everything you need it to do. So that is that. Thanks for listening.